Welcome back to another episode of 40 Facts About the 40K Universe. I am your host, Gershwan, and today we're going to be talking about the non-imperial human civilizations of the Great Crusade. If you're new to the channel, subscribe. We post Warhammer 40K lore videos every single day. If you have any suggestions, please comment down below. And if you enjoy our content, thank our patrons on Patreon. It is because of them that we can do this. Link in the description if you guys want to support us. But with that said, let's get into 40 facts on the two non-imperial human civilizations of the Great Crusade. When the Emperor of Mankind set off on his Great Crusade, his main goal was to unify the scattered human empires of the Old Federation of the Dark Age of Technology, thus forming his Imperium of Man. And while the majority of the human colonies were utterly destroyed during the Age of Strife, when they were beset by all manner of horrors, from Xeno raiders to demonic incursions, there were a number of resilient human operations that not only found a way to survive, but continued to expand their power and influence. When the exploration ships of the Imperium encountered these human kingdoms, they were all given the privilege to join the Imperium of Man. But some of these proud empires could not accept the offer. Either their beliefs did not align with the Emperor's imperial truth, or their leader's ego could not allow them to bend the knee to the Emperor of Mankind. The Emperor knew that he couldn't allow human civilizations to continue to exist outside of his command, meaning that anyone who refused unification would suffer the Emperor's judgment. Two of these great human civilizations were the Diasporax and the Oratian Technocracy. During the last days of the Great Crusade, the Iron Hands Legion encountered a fleet of what they believed to be a nomadic human civilization that managed to survive the Age of Strife. But to their surprise, the members of this massive collection of ships were not all human. Calling themselves the Diasporax, they were a technologically advanced democratic confederation that managed to form a multiracial traveling civilization. The Diasporax were able to survive the long night because they established a network of hydrogen collector space stations around various stars to fuel their ships' power generators. As they traveled from fueling station to fueling station, the Confederation would not hesitate to establish diplomatic relations with native populations, slowly growing their own population until their empire was made up of a conglomeration of species, working together to survive the turmoil of the Age of Strife. At first, the Iron Hands offered aid to the human members of the Empire, sharing with them the imperial truth of the Emperor of Mankind, and promising a new, prosperous life if they could separate from the alien allies and join the newly formed Imperium of Man. Unable to betray their alien brothers, they declined the Astartes' offer. With this rejection, the Iron Hands passed judgment, and in the following months the Iron Hand fleet attempted to annihilate the Diasporax, but they proved to be highly skilled and experienced in the realm of naval warfare, managing to easily evade crucial battles and even severely damage the Iron Hand star cruiser, Ferrum. At this point, the Emperor's children of the 28th Expeditionary Fleet were called in for reinforcements, and so a joint Imperial strike force composed of both the Iron Hands and the forces of the Emperor's Children Legion launched an all-out assault against the willful Diasporax. Though the Diasporax knew that a powerful fleet of warships was hunting them down and sought their destruction, they stoically refused to leave the sector and move on to a safer place. The Iron Hand scout ships soon discovered why. The Diasporax used hidden solar collector arrays to collect fuel to their vessels from a star. This was the reason why the Diasporax remained within the sector. The Imperials knew that by attacking these vital fuel stations, the two Imperial expeditionary fleets would draw the Diasporax fleet out into the open and would easily be able to annihilate them. During the massive naval battle that ensued, Fulgrim's personal gunship, the Firebird, came under heavy attack and soon found itself in trouble. Rushing to his brother's side, Ferrus Manus' flagship, the battle-barged Fist of Iron, came rushing to rescue his beleaguered brother. To restore his wounded pride, Fulgrim led a brief shipboarding action where the Emperor's children wreaked bloody havoc on the troops of the Diasporax, but ultimate victory was robbed from him when the enemy ship's bridge was taken, and by Captain Solomon Demeter, one of his subordinate commanders. As the once sovereign empire of the Diasporax was coming to a horrible end at the hands of the Imperial forces, the final words of the alien captain were simply, "We only wish to be left alone." After the battle, any surviving Xenos of the Diasporax were killed, while their human compatriots were taken prisoners or transported to the nearest compliant Imperial world, where they were used as slaves. An Adeptus Mechanicus detachment from the 28th Expeditionary Fleet stayed behind after the Legion's forces left the area. They wanted to study what remained of the ancient human technology of the Diasporax. The Oratian Technocracy was a technologically advanced and peaceful independent human civilization scattered across several star systems in the Milky Way galaxy, but it centered on their capital world of Arrayes. The technocracy had been founded during the isolation of the Age of Strife and reached its height in the early 31st millennium. Its technology was at a level equivalent to that of the Imperium of Man at the time of the Great Crusade, and in some respects it was even more advanced, as the Oratians had access to several standard template construct databases that were not in Imperial hands. These standard template constructs were advanced, artificially intelligent computer data storages and fabrication systems. They were designed to provide construction details for human colonists during mankind's early interstellar expansion across the Milky Way galaxy. This technology enabled colonists to build efficient shelters, power generators, and transports without any technological knowledge and using almost any locally available materials. When the 63rd Expeditionary Fleet of the Great Crusade, under the direct control of War Master Horus and the Sons of Horus, made first contact with the Oratian technocracy, Horus was already planning to unleash his great rebellion against the Emperor of mankind. By this time, late in the Great Crusade, Horus had been healed of the terrible wound he had suffered on the moon of Davin after making the deal with the Chaos Gods to overthrow the Emperor. As part of the preparation required for the massive interstellar civil war, Horus needed to gain the backing of the Adeptus Mechanicus, as without the logistical, military, and material aid that the Mechanicus could provide, no war against the Imperium's loyalists could be won. After first contact was made with the technocracy by both the Sons of Horus 63rd Expeditionary Fleet and the World Eater Legion's 203rd Expeditionary Fleet, Horus invited the technocracy's leader, the Fabricator Council, Emroy Salignac, aboard his flagship, the Vengeful Spirit, under the guise of opening peaceful diplomatic relations between the Imperium and the technocracy. The Fabricator Council, who made use of the augmetic enhancements much like the Mechanicus tech adepts, was accompanied by the Oratian elite warriors, who were also known as the Brotherhood, and they were dressed in power armor and made use of bolter weapons similar to that of the Space Marines, though they were clearly not genetically enhanced humans and carried no magazines in their bolters. As soon as the Fabricator Council arrived aboard his vessel, in the course of his welcoming remarks, Horus asked the leader if his people had developed their advanced technology that was so much like the Imperium's own knowledge, gleaned from the STC databases. When the Fabricator Council answered in the affirmative, Horus then immediately turned his bolter pistol upon the leader and blew out the back of his head. The Sons of Horus then slaughtered the Brotherhood warriors who had accompanied their leader. Horus justified this action by claiming that the Fabricator Council's staff contained weapons with which the Oratians planned to assassinate Horus to prevent the Imperium from conquering their world. This was an outright lie created by Horus to justify the Imperial conquest of the planet and the acquisition of the STC technologies. This action initiated a 10-month-long war between the Imperium and the technocracy that would ultimately draw in the Sons of Horus, the World Eaters, and the Emperor's Children legions. The Astarte legions laid siege to Arrhaeus, and after months of slaughter, the last bastion of the Oratian resistance, known as the Iron Citadel, finally fell to the Imperial forces after a two-pronged assault led by the Sons of Horus and the World Eaters, who were led on the field by their Primarch Angron. During the course of this conflict, Horus began the process of turning his legion against the Emperor, identifying those loyalists who had not turned against the Imperium to follow him into the rebellion, and forging links amongst the other Primarchs who were willing to join him in turning traitor. After the fall of the Iron Citadel, Horus met with Regulus, the tech priest who represented the Mechanicus in the 63rd Expeditionary Fleet, and promised to deliver all of the recovered STC databases from the planet into the Mechanicus' hands, in return for the Mechanicus' support for his rebellion. Regulus eagerly accepted the bargain and then offered to serve as Horus's envoy to the Fabricator General, Kelbor Hall, of the Mechanicus of Mars. In this way, the War Master's conquest of the Oratian technocracy represented the first major step along a path of treachery that would unleash the horrors of the Horus heresy upon the galaxy. And those were 40 facts on the two non-imperial human civilizations of the Great Crusade. There's more. We actually created another video that I'll link up in the top or down in the description below if I haven't already. But you could check those out. There's actually been a couple of human civilizations that have existed alongside the Imperium of Man, not to be confused with the ones that rebelled. We're going to create a completely different video for those nations or those groups of people that ended up rebelling against the Imperium and actually were able to maintain their own autonomy for a little bit. But I mean, even a little bit is quite a lot within the 40K timeline. So we'll talk about that in the future. If you guys have any suggestions for any other topics, please comment down below. If you guys enjoy our content, it is because of our patrons. So thank them. If you guys want to support us, the link is down in the description. It's just $1 a month, but with that dollar, it really does help out a lot. So thank you to all of our patrons. Thank you for listening, liking, commenting, and sharing. And I will talk to you tomorrow. This was Gersh1 with One Mind Syndicate signing out.
Oh, I used to put my